All right, we are on cycle 2, scholars. Now that we know what the 3 different possible responses Max could have going forward, um, let's find out what he does. Does he fight, flight, or freeze? I want you to keep that in mind as we read. Open up your books to page 119. It's chapter 17, By All That's Holy. Follow along at the beginning of the chapter. There's a back alley between the tenement buildings you can't see from the road, and Iggy takes us along the alley to this other place. You can tell how the door has been busted in and the lock broke, and we go into the dark hallway. The lights come on, and the first thing I notice is the perfume an old lady wears, and the smell of cats. It ain't much, but the old bat who lives here took the greyhound to visit her sister for the holiday, Iggy says. He's trying to smile. The little room is warm and close feeling, and the furniture is real old and saggy. There's a big old TV with a doily on the top, and an empty goldfish bowl, and piles of newspapers tied up neat with string, and a Bible on this little table by the TV. Also, there's this trick picture of Jesus on the wall. We're on page 120, where his eyes keep following you, and you go cross-eyed looking at it. Ain't much worth taking, Iggy says. My father is looking around, making sure the curtains are closed. You think I'd steal from an old woman? He says. Iggy shakes his head. I sure don't. Never you mind, the father says. This will do in a pinch until we get started. I better get back to Loretta. You do that. My father watches the door shut behind Iggy, and he doesn't say anything. I'm just standing there in the middle of the room because I don't know what he wants me to do. Make yourself comfy, boy, he finally says. I'm gonna check we have a back way out. I'm looking at the door we came in by, just looking, when all of a sudden he's there behind me and I feel the cool air of him on the back of my neck. You wouldn't light out on me now, would you? No, sir, I wouldn't. I want to pause right there. What response does Max's dad think Max is going to have? Does he think Max is going to fight, flight, or freeze right there as he's looking at that door? Take 5 seconds to think about that. Shout it out. What response does Max's dad think he's going to make? Flight! He thinks Max is going to run away. All right, we're going to continue at the bottom of page 120. Sit down. Right there. Sit down, he says. We need to talk man to man. I sit down in this old lady's chair that's so soft. I almost sink through to the floor, and I'm wondering what happened to the cats. Maybe she took them with her to visit her sister, or maybe Iggy let them out and they can't get back in. So this is a clue as to what response Max is doing. Is he thinking about the situation they're in right now, or is he thinking about cats? He's not thinking about how to fight. He's not thinking about how to flee or flight. He's freezing. His mind is not where he is. It's somewhere else. He's dissociating right now. We're going to continue at he leans over me. He leans over me and puts his big hands on the arms of the chair, and he says, now your grandparents say you're nothing but a dysfunctional retard, and no kid of mine is a retard, and that's a fact. Dysfunctional means not working properly, if you remember, and kin was family. So no family of mine who doesn't work properly is a retard, and that's a fact. So first thing, we've got to start acting smart. Use your head. We've got a situation going here, boy. So the way to handle it, you just do exactly what I say, no matter what. Understood? Yes, sir. His hand shove he his hand shoves through my hair and I can feel how strong he is, even though he doesn't hurt me. That's good, he says. That's real good. He goes into another room and I can hear the door banging and stuff being moved around. When he comes back, he's got this rope in his hands. A boy who doesn't know his own father might be dumb enough to run away, he says. We can't have that, can we? No, sir. No, sir, what? No, sir, we can't have that. What he does is tie my feet and hands, and then he loops the end of the rope around his waist. I'm taking sack time while I can, so he's gonna go to sleep for a while. He says, "You're as smart as I think you are, you'll get some shut-eye too." He turns out the light and lies down on the floor beside the chair, with just his arm for a pillow. And for a long time I can't tell whether he's asleep or pretending. Then I decide it doesn't matter. If I move, the rope will surely wake him. So here we see if he is freezing, he has now decided that he can't run away. So there's one reason why he might be freezing. And he thinks his dad is so big. So we talked about why someone might freeze. He doesn't think he can run away, and he knows he can't stand up to his dad. So he has to freeze. It seems like we're frozen. There it is again, frozen inside that room, even though the air is warm and stuffy. The soft chair keeps a hold of me. It's not strong enough to get up. My feet and hands are getting tingly where they're tied, and pretty soon I can't keep my eyes open. I'm half asleep, dreaming a cat is in the other room mewing for milk, and I'm still thinking about the cat when something tugs me. We're going to pause there and look at our questions for this section. What we just read on page 122, it seems like we're frozen in that room even though the air is warm and stuffy. Why might Max feel like they're frozen? And I want you to consider multiple reasons why might he feel like he's frozen. When you're done, move on to cycle 3.